Now, when I was a young boy, I went to school, secondary school. I was only 11 years old, but started the school in the neighborhood of my home then. And during these 5 years school, I started to notice that I was not so much interested in all the subjects we were presented, but that there were two events that I really felt committed to. And the first one was that we had kind of lessons and moments of learning to meditate. This was inspired by Christian impulse to really start to become more familiar with your inner world, with the thought that you had, the inner peace, the inner concentration. I was fascinated by that. I found that really revealing, and we practiced this during those years, supported by some priests. And on the other hand, we learned how to speak in public. So we had to perform, to improvise, to give lectures in the public space, to prepare ourselves to speak in public. And also that was fascinating because it was a struggle. Both elements were a struggle for me. But as a young boy, I found it totally relevant to practice this. And that was, as I saw later, a very good basis for the work that I started to be interested in. That is the work of human and organizational development. When I started my study in Rotterdam at the Sociology faculty, I found also a lot of nourishment for this interest. How are human beings developing themselves and how are they acting and living in organizations? And this sociology study specialized in these issues and gave me a very good basis. But when I started to work in Shell, I wanted to, after my studies, to really meet a very big international company, to see for myself how this was working in world economy. Then I noticed that all the things that I learned in my study were not really helpful to communicate with the people at work. These were drillers, these were cleaners, these were office people. And in that struggle, in that meeting also with this reality in organizations, I found this impulse of organizational development practiced by some people in the Shell organization, and I started to join them and found a language, a repertoire that immediately made it possible for me to work with all the people from top to bottom on issues that were really relevant, mostly leadership issues, cooperation issues, developing issues, change issues. And that was a totally stimulating experience, especially this training of people in social skills. So how can we speak about the work? How can we listen to each other? How can we dialogue with each other? It was fascinating. It was in the 60s of last century. For people, they never did this really specifically. It opened up their eyes. It opened up perspective. But also there was a lot of resistance in dealing with this issue, especially by the managers at that time. They didn't see the relevance of the work we were doing, except a few of them who said this is what I was waiting for, to really, as a person, be able to develop my leadership, to develop the teams that I'm working with, to develop myself also as a person in this work. Then, after these Shell experiences, I moved to the NPI Institute, founded by Bernard Lievegoed. He was the pioneer on this level of organizational development and human development, and was able to combine these two dimensions in a very fruitful and a new way. I worked in the NPI for 28 years, traveling to different countries, working with different people in different organizations. In that journey, discovered more and more that the organized life that we are living is an opportunity for people to really, out of themselves, out of their own personality, to make a step in their development by serving other people in a very fruitful, relevant and inspiring way. That was the theme that goes through all my life, and still today in IMO I'm fascinated by this question of human and organizational development. I'm fascinated by how people appear as a person, how they take responsibility, how they become leaders for their own processes, how they can start a dialogue as leaders, take responsibility, and how slowly but surely we find new ways of creating organizations that are human, that are more horizontal, as we call it, where people can live a fulfilled life and can serve other people by what philosophers said is the ultimate aim of humanity, that is doing the good, serving others, and through that experience a fulfilling life.